What's up, guys? Devin here with the second episode of the Godward journey, and I'm really excited for this one. Actually, the verse for today is very significant in my process of growing closer to God. And the verse today is Hebrews 9:14. The verse states, "How much more will the blood of Christ, who through the eternal Spirit offered himself without blemish to God, cleanse our conscience from dead works so that we can serve the living God." And I feel like this verse is huge because it talks, the way I interpret it is it's talking about like the sacrifices that God gave to us and did for us for absolutely zero reason whatsoever. Like, it is just beautiful the more I read in the Word about everything that God did for absolutely no reason whatsoever. And I know that like the verse emphasizes that Jesus' sacrifice is not just about forgiveness, but about the transformation. And this is just like huge, like physically, he had a lot of sacrifices with giving the lamb and like sacrificing animals, but in a way I feel like he sacrificed like the inner consciousness. Like my mind is so much more clear knowing that he sacrificed so many things. And it's like when I fully grasped that Jesus's blood didn't just cover my sin, but it cleansed my consciousness, I felt free to like let go of all the guilt holding me back in life. And it changed how I saw my purpose in life. It wasn't just about avoiding sin, but stepping into the life God called me to. And that's really big for me because I know through all these sacrifices that he gave for me, I was almost like holding in and doing everything with guilt. Like I'd do something that I wasn't supposed to, and I'd feel extremely guilty for a very long time. And really, there was no point to that in a way. I was being foolish. But now that I know God's true purpose, and that no matter what I do, I can always be forgiven, no matter how big the sin is. So, really, when I feel that guilt or shame coming back into me, I acknowledge it, but I don't hold on to it now. And it has just helped my conscience and my mind so much to not have that stress or anxiety weighing on me. It's like, oh, I let God down today. I cannot be forgiven for this. But no, I know I messed up, but God is always going to be there right next to me and going to help clear my mind knowing that I'm forgiven for everything I've done. And God, no matter what it is, will still love me. And that is just like huge to me because it's the way I like to describe it is it's almost like being in a relationship. Like just say like I have a girlfriend and I continue to go and cheat and lie to that girlfriend, but no matter what I do or say, they keep coming back. And like relating that to God, like you can lie to him, you can cheat, you can do all of these things, but it doesn't matter to him. He's still going to love you and be next to you no matter what, which is just honestly mind blowing in a way because really, if you think about it, like, God shouldn't want to keep you, but he does, no matter what. It's like this ungrateful love, undeserving love that he gives each and every day. And it is just amazing if you really sit back and think about it. And that's partially why I've gotten into like more of the spiritual things, is because we can always we can always be close to God physically with like things we do and things we say, but I'm really trying to get into like my inner conscious of being closer to God. And that is one of the hardest things like I would have to deal with through my day. Is like I can read my Bible, I can go to church every Sunday, but through my day in and day out things that I do, I'm now starting to shift to a point where before I say something, I think it's like, is this what God is wanting me to say? Is what God is wanting me to do? And really instead of taking my own opinion on it, I think about what God would want me to do. Because that's something that I've struggled with forever, is always doing things and saying things and buying things for validation from other people. When in reality, the only validation I need is from God himself and from myself. And I to the point where I would always care so much about what people thought about me. So I always had to have the nice clothes, the cool car, like all of this stuff, when in reality it doesn't matter at all. And that is honestly the biggest change that I've seen so far in myself and in my growth with God, is I don't care now what people think about me. I'm going to get people talking to me about me talking to you guys right now on this camera, and like I've had people make fun of me for like what I wear, what I do, and it doesn't matter to me, because I know deep down I feel like I've had these talks with God and he's been wanting me to do this. He wants me I feel like my calling is to impact people's lives, and I feel like this is a way that I can do that. And it doesn't matter what anybody else thinks I should be doing, because I feel like this is what God is wanting me to do and this is what I want to do. So the only validation I need is from myself and from God. And even with like the whole getting closer to God, it's like how often do we focus on outward action to feel closer to God while ignoring the inner transformation only Christ can bring? Like this verse reminds us to serve out a cleansed heart, not out of fear or obligation, but to just be closer to God. And I think the reason why this has made this a lot easier, it's because I'm not being forced to do this. I could stop praying, I could stop reading my Bible every day, I could stop talking to God, but it is so fulfilling throughout my entire day, week, month, year. Like I want God to control my life. I want to hand everything I have over to him, because at the end of the day, I can have a plan. But and I heard this from a pastor, Stephen Verdict, he's amazing. And he said that there's no plan that you have that will exactly correlate with God's plan for you. You will have unplanned events in this year, and those are going to be the best events that happen. And so it's like I was almost trying to like plan out my entire year, like, okay, this is what I want to accomplish, this is what I want to do, this is everything that I want to experience this year. When in reality, yes, I can have some control over what my plan is, and things I do, but God is going to have other plans and events that are going to be more significant than everything that I have planned out. You cannot plan your life without your God. And it's just like that is just so cleansing to my mind. And like in my inner mind, because it's like I know I can do so many things, but it's not my plan. It's God's plan, and God is the reason why I do everything that I do. And I do this by praying, and I ask God to cleanse my heart and like truly showing that I want to serve him. And this has really helped open my mind to hopefully have God show me the path that I'm supposed to be going down. And it brings like a joy to me knowing that at some point, it could be this year, it could be next year, it could be 5 years down the line, but God is going to show me what my purpose is in life. And I just need to go with it and not quit from it. Because if I'm not given permission to quit, I don't stop. God has the timeline for us. And I can't go off of that, is almost in a way. That's almost gotten we're in the mindset where if I feel like quitting something, I ask God first, hey, is this really what you want me to be doing, or can I be done with it? And I'll just sit there and talk to him. And if he says, no, this is your path, you cannot quit, then I don't quit, because that's God's plan for me. And I know he has a bigger, more true purpose for me doing what I'm doing than anybody else knows. And that is really the mindset. A lot of this is I can do everything physical and spiritual with God, like going to church, praying, listening to worship music, but really getting into my inner mind, because I've struggled with overthinking for who knows how long, and getting closer to God in my inner mind with the way that I think has been the biggest change and struggle for me, because my mind is just like its own little warehouse. It thinks about every single scenario possible. And honestly, getting closer to God has almost dumbed down my mind and made life a lot less stressful. Because I was always stressing about what I was doing, what am I gonna do next? Because I even just like with communication with people, I was almost in this state of mind where I'd be having a conversation with somebody, and I'd start to have the conversation with them, and I'd be listening to what they're saying, and then I find one little key point of what they're talking about and would tone down on that, and I'm like, okay, this is what I'm going to respond to with this conversation, and I just completely stop listening to the rest of the conversation of what they're saying, because I was almost waiting for my time to speak. And getting closer with God, I was almost like trying to prepare everything that I was going to say. But now it's like I don't do that anymore. I know my time when I need to speak and when I'm not to speak. So a lot of my time when I'm talking in conversation, I don't share a lot anymore. I let other people talk, because the more I share, the worse I feel, because there's no purpose to be sharing everything that I'm sharing in a way. And where is this? Oh, but there was another part of this verse that I didn't really understand at first, so I looked it up. The part where it says moving from the dead works to living faith. This I didn't really understand, so I actually looked it up, and I have something here on my computer for it. And it states acts that lead to death means like, there's different things that we could do to get closer to God, like relying on religious rituals or empty practices. And it's like, this is, those are two complete opposites. And it's like, that's how I felt at the beginning. I had these empty practices where I was just like going through the motions, didn't really care. But now I'm like beyond, like I'm extremely spiritual, which I never used to be, which just kind of blows my mind because like a couple years ago, I never would have thought that I would be trying to get this into my religion and have this much faith and trust in God. But it has honestly helped me a lot. So that transition from just going through the motions to really diving deep into the word, into what his plan is for me, has been amazing. It has given me an absolute, I don't even know how to explain it. It gave me this like strength, like pure strength that I've never felt before, to serve him with joy and freedom. I feel like I'm so free right now. I could I can do what I want, and I can always, if I always feel bad about it, or if I feel good about it, I can, no matter what, I can just always go and talk to God. Whether it's a bad situation or a good situation, it's like, I'll almost just like congratulate myself, like give myself gratitude. Like at the end of the day, I can like lay in bed and it's just like, God, you really helped me through today. It was a struggle, but I got through the day and I did it with you. And it's just so fulfilling. Like it's, if you're struggling with trying to get closer to God, honestly, what I'd recommend is just, you can always, there's this three different ways. There's the word, which you can read the Bible. That is almost more informational for me. I don't really hear God speaking to me when I read the Bible, but that's just me. Or you can pray, and there's a lot of people think that praying is like just sitting there with your hands on your knees praying to him, but praying can also be considered just talking to him. Just sitting on the edge of your bed, just talking to him. It's like, I know how I start, like whenever I go to church on Sunday, I kneel in the pew and I just talk to him. And I start every prayer with, God, I really don't have this whole life thing figured out, but I want to give my life to you so you can guide me along this path. And that's how I start every prayer. Is I don't have life figured out, but I'm not supposed to right now. And the other way that you can try to speak to him or have him speak to you is through the worship music. That has been the biggest way that I've heard him speak to me. And there's a lot of time where I'll be listening to the words of the worship music and I feel like it's God telling me something. And so those are the three ways that I have found that you can let God talk to you. I know there's some people that is like, they're physically just sitting there and they hear God talk to them. I've never experienced that, and I struggled with trying to talk to God or having God talk to me. And worship music is what I found was the best way to talk to him. So if you're wanting to get back into your religion, try one of those three. Either praying, reading the word, or worship music. And just let it open your world up, because it is the best and most amazing experience ever. But that's going to be it for this episode. I'm going to try to release this today, the 18th of January. We're now on Spotify as well, where you might be listening to this. The Godward Journey on Spotify. YouTube channel. I have a new clothing drop. Pureline clothing. I'll leave the link in the description. This is an old design, but the new designs are up on the website. It's the new design, the P has a cross in it, but I'll leave the link to that. If you use code PURE, you can get 50% off at checkout. And 10% of all those proceeds go to mental health awareness. So if you're wanting to support a good cause, go ahead and cop yourself a cool hoodie. There's hoodies, tank tops, compression shirts, t-shirts, joggers, anything, you name it. We're going to be coming out with a new drop soon, the Mind and Soul drop. So that will be exciting. But that'll be it for now. I'll see you guys next time.